Welcome to the first episode of Foster Care Uncovered. This is going to be a space where curiosity meets courage and nothing is off limits. We're going to cut through the noise to look at what's working, what isn't, and what's holding back the real change foster care so desperately needs. We're going to be having honest, straight-talking conversations with guests who challenge the system and push for better. You're going to hear stories that matter, ideas that make you stop and think, and perspectives that help make sense of what's really happening in our sector. And we'll always be looking ahead, focusing on solutions and how we can help make change happen. Our children, young people and care leavers deserve far more than they're getting right now. Foster care is only as good as the outcomes for those who've lived through it, and those outcomes have been poor for far too long. It's a dial we have to move, and we have to move it together. In this opening episode, we're going to introduce ourselves, the vision behind the podcast. We're going to take a fresh look at what foster care really is, who foster carers are, and the sector that surrounds them, plus a glimpse of what's coming next. I'm Sarah Anderson. I'm the founder of Foster Wiki, co-founder of the Starling Model and the National Foster Carers Qualifications, a foster carer of 16 years, and someone who's spent over a decade in this space campaigning for real change in foster care. I've worked with thousands of carers on the front line and engaged with government, local authorities, agencies and sector leaders. I'm also a psychotherapist specialising in child and adolescent mental health. And I'm thrilled to be joined by the one and only Louise, who is a long-time partner in crime and friend, and she shares my passion and obsession for foster care and our belief in its potential to make a real positive impact on the crisis facing children and young people in care, if only we can get it right.
Hi, I'm Louise Allen. I'm an artist, writer, founder of Spark Sisterhood, the charity for girls who are in care, an experienced foster carer who lives with the highs, the lows, and the midnight tea and toast. Oh, and I'm also care experience.
Love it.
Right, so let's get to it. Sarah, I think because this is our first podcast, I think we need to explain to our listeners why us? Why are we doing this? And I think I'd like to start with the fact that I met you 15 years ago, when we had started fostering, because I was a bit shocked when we became foster carers, and I wasn't really quite sure what I'd let myself in for, and I wasn't really talking about the children. And I saw you in The Guardian, and I read an article about you,
That was a
and
while back, yes. That was
yeah, that was
Palmer Jones, I think, did that one, yeah.
yes. And I reached out to you, and I basically said, "Please be my friend, help." And
Yeah.
we've been talking ever since, and
Have.
we've been through some, I would say highs, but they haven't. Well, I don't think we've ever hit a high. We've hit a lot of lows and
Yes.
middle bits.
Yeah.
We've worked tirelessly and very hard, for our fellow foster carers.
Mm.
And it grew and grew. It went from us recognizing the flaws in the system in terms of foster care, because the foster care is the care that is given to the children, and the children only receive good enough care if the foster carers feel good enough about what they do. And we have been through a lot. And Sarah, you set up Foster Wiki,
Yep.
which I think has probably had one of the most profound effects on foster care. Not only because you set it up for foster carers, so that
Yes, yes,
we
did.
would have somewhere to go, so
Didn't
that
know
when we
didn't know how it would be or what it would be like. I just knew there was a gap and we needed it. And it's honestly it's exceeded every expectation I possibly had, yeah.
and it's our go-to. It's my go-to when I'm writing my books. I think I just need to find out what we need to do here. So I go straight to Foster Wiki and I do a search, and I find the answer, because you have pulled in not only the legal, you pulled in all the guidelines, and you give great advice. And I think, thank you for that, and thank you for
Mm.
such profound impact on how we foster. And I also know that a lot of professionals look you up as well when they
We
want
do.
to know, because they don't know it all either, because there's so much to
No.
know. So
Oh,
you
well,
do it
they
all.
don't know it from our perspective as well, which I think is terribly important. The children's perspective, the care leavers' perspective. I'm not saying we speak for them, but I'm saying that all these perspectives are so vitally important.
They are,
Mm.
and that's why we're here. And thank you for inviting me to join you on this
Thanks for
podcast
joining me.
journey. I was, as always, when you ask me anything, my first response is, "Oh God, what's she getting me into?"
Mm.
And then I was
And
utterly
I've got
delighted.
you into a few things over the years.
You really have. But I was excited because foster care, every foster carer will tell you is a little bit, it's a bit of a murky world, isn't it? We're not
Chaos,
quite
even.
sure
Yeah.
what it is. And I think this is an opportunity for me to ask you particularly, um, what is foster care?
Mm.
What is the work we do? Because there are so many assumptions and misrepresentations
Mm.
of
Mm.
work. I think let's get that straight,
Yeah, yeah.
episode one, and then
Mhm.
we can unravel it bit by bit
Definitely.
as we go on. So, Sarah, in your words, with all your experience, can you sum up what is foster care?
Mm. I wasn't expecting that one. Um, well, what is foster care? The official definition, because I like a definition, is what is it? It's providing a safe, stable, and caring home for a child who cannot live with their birth family. And is imprinted across my forehead. But I think that it's so much more than that. And I think also, for me, it's about the fact that we are looking after other people's children who, for one reason or another, can't care for the children themselves at that time. And I think we must never lose sight of that,
No,
because we mustn't demonize the children, children's parents. They were often those children once themselves, and they were also there in socioeconomic. Most of them are in socioeconomic difficult areas where that impacts them greatly. And also never ever underestimate the power of intergenerational trauma. So it is chaotic at times, there's no doubt about it. We'd like to think that we start bringing a little more sense to the chaos, but basically we look after other people's children while they can't. What is it? What is it? It should be what it is and what it should be. I think there's a bit of a gap. And I think that's the kind of stuff we're going to be unraveling over the next few weeks, the big stuff, and how we can help make it a lot better than it is.
well, that's pretty good, because that was an off the cuff question, but it's why we're here. It's it's why we're here. It's our purpose, and our purpose is to really delve into what is foster care. It's providing us, as you say, providing a safe, stable, and caring home for a child who cannot live with their birth family. Now, that's what it says. That sounds like a brochure. What it actually is, it's chaos.
Visceral.
It's yeah, visceral. It's
It's
unpredictable.
very, very real. When you feel that, sometimes I feel when you read those, the lovely things about reflective practice, about relational work, about being trauma informed, and the, flowery language we do tend to get around that, especially by those who don't do. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but I think that what happens with me, I often feel, oh, come on, it's more urgent, it's more real, it's more front line, it's more in the moment, it's now, it's so urgent. The work is urgent. And
Yeah,
I think that that can get missed a lot in the policy, the procedure, the
yeah.
big consultant meetings and stuff. I think I think foster care itself can get lost.
I think you're absolutely right. And I was just, as you were saying that, Sarah, I was just smiling away at myself, part insanity. But talk about urgent, is that what happens in our homes, and that is where foster
Mm.
care practice
Yes.
takes place,
Yes.
in our homes.
Mm.
What happens on a Friday night, something big happens. By the time by the time it is processed, recorded,
Mm.
meetings planned, other meetings planned, the other meeting planned, and no one's looked at the paperwork, whatever that situation is either escalated beyond control or passed.
Oh, gone, yes, absolutely.
So
I couldn't agree more.
you can't, as a foster carer, you're living the reality in a
Yeah.
system that has a very little
Yeah,
sense.
there lies the gaps.
There lies the
That's the
gaps.
gap. I suppose that was one of the gaps that Foster Wiki occupies.
Yeah, I think it's
I don't want to
because
be
you've got to
this to
go
be a,
through.
a sales job for Foster Wiki, but it is an integral part of what I do and why I've done it. And it was about filling those gaps.
Yeah, and I think it's very important that we make it very clear to everyone from the beginning that you are the one that reads all the
So
documents.
you don't have to.
Oh, I don't have to, and I am so grateful of that. Thank
I
you
bet you
so
are.
much, Sarah, because I would be asleep in about
Every
a
5 minutes.
minute.
Oh, what's that policy about that? What's that data about that? What was so
I know I'm
specific?
constantly texting you because
Yeah.
I'm lazy, and I think she'll know, and you
Yeah.
do because you're like
Yeah.
an encyclopedia,
I
and
do
it's
have
wonderful.
yes, I do. You know what? I can walk into the kitchen and forget why I've gone in there. But you ask, this is true, isn't it? You ask me anything about fostering,
Yeah.
and I'll.
Well, we could do a mastermind slot
I
with you. Or it could be a pub quiz for
love it.
children's
Yeah.
social care. We could all go to a pub. And I know if I was on your team, we would smash it. Absolutely.
Uh,
So, what is foster care? Who are we? What do we do? And I think that, despite all the professional practice that goes on, foster care is what happens in the home.
mm,
What
yes.
happens in the home is very different to what happens in meetings. So
Mm,
that's the first bit. But thank you for that. And it's about creating a sense of love. I can't say that I've loved all the children
mm.
I've looked
Well,
after.
I think love is it's an interesting that you should say that. And I've always said this, love isn't something you can prescribe or
No.
purchase or order even. You have to, love grows. It's an organic thing that is a result of. And also you can't overpower children with love when they first come into your house. That's not appropriate. You might overpower them with a deep sense of nurturing and connection and stuff like that. But to start banding the love word around, I think that just should happen organically. So it's a big
I think
question, that
you're
isn't it?
right.
But we do give love. We give all of our heart. I don't think every carer does. I think that one of the things we don't do, you and I, is defend our workforce 100% every single person. There are always people out there who aren't doing it for the right reasons. And but if you are doing it for the right reasons, oh, again, it's visceral, isn't it? It's a sort of, well, they've got all the words they bandy around. I do it because it's rewarding. I do it because it's challenging. Like you can't, it's far too big to put into those narrow narratives.
It's huge. And as somebody who grew up in the care system myself, the word love has many, many, many different meanings.
Yeah,
I prefer, but that's my household. So if we got 43,000 children in
yeah,
care,
yeah.
we got there was, a huge amount of households. We got, what was it, 43,000 foster families. I just
Mm.
looked at the data, 43,000
64%
people
full time. Yeah.
doing it differently. And those
Mm.
children would travel through several of those households.
Mm.
And I'm very cautious about telling any child that I love them. But I think what where I'd like to start from with foster care is that we do right by them, no matter what.
Yes. Yeah, I like
We
that.
do
Yeah.
right by
You're right
them.
by
You
them.
have
Yeah.
to love them. And
Yeah.
there are days when you really can't feel that love
Mm.
because we're human. So we're a bunch of humans who step
Yeah.
up to foster, and and let's go. Let's look at the history a little bit of foster care because it's Victorian, isn't it? It's
Started in the workhouse, didn't it?
the workhouses.
Mm.
My
Mm.
adopted mother who, if anyone's read my
This is
first,
your area, so you're good at this bit, history.
yeah, well, I know how the institutions have evolved.
Mm,
So so we had the workhouses pre-war. And I mean, you know, think of the Victorians, think of what happened to our children. There was no care. People were put into workhouses or boarded out. You know, the mill owners also uh, took the youngest child or one or two of the children from their workers to be fostered out, so it free the workers up to work harder.
yeah.
And you know, there was no checks then of where the children were going. And then you had, you know, you know, you think of Charles Dickens, you think of Oliver Twist, you know, that's what happened to
Mm.
children. You know,
Well,
you can take
Fagin
a
was one of the original
musical,
child traffickers, wasn't he?
exactly, you know,
It's
and
still
then
going
you
on today,
how
sadly.
many of those children were delivering what was it called?
Mm,
Opium. And also being sexually exploited.
mm,
And no one, you know, batted an eyelid because children without families are perceived of a lesser value.
yeah.
That's the fact. And then we kind of had the war that cleared out a lot of cobwebs, didn't it, within child protection? There was no
Well,
child
and of
protection.
course we did have foster care in the war, and actually that was called
The evacuees.
evacuation, the
Yeah.
evacuee, and also that's a really interesting one because we are the generation of evacuees, and I think that the trauma that caused was anyway. I digress, but I always find that rather interesting. They were sort of unofficially fostered out to anybody who just stepped into the village hall, but yeah,
Again, you know, it's massive, isn't it? And then you think, what is
huge, yeah.
foster care? You know, it's huge. It's huge. It has a social history that is, I think, really important to remember how we
When did
got.
all the regulations and the policy and stuff started coming in?
That started out in the 1950s, I
Yeah.
suppose. You get the
Mm,
1960s. You see, and I have this. I equate also contemporary foster care, modern foster care, to architecture, to city planning. So you used to have, like in the 50s and 60s, early 60s, you had family offices, you had places within the community where, you know, social workers, a friendly social worker, they might not be friendly, that's just
mm,
me nostalgic,
mm,
but, you know, families used to go to these places for help.
mm.
Then when post war, you had the urbanization, the town planning. You had like Welwyn Garden City, you had Milton Keynes, you had these new towns which had been designed around human needs, unlike now where they plop them on any field that they can
Mm.
find. So you had this sort of social engineering, and within that you had these family offices, these little departments pulled into the larger town area or the cities. With that came high rises, but obviously because they're trying to make more space. So you built up instead of
Mm.
out. With the high rises
Oh,
came
it's,
hierarchy.
yeah.
So then you got further and further and further away from the very people that you were looking after. So the people at the top of these offices, the management,
Mm,
with the eyes looking down on the poor, frightened, failing families, because that's how a family feels when they're involved with
mm,
children's
mm.
care. So you got many factors that have created what we've got, and then you kind of then you had social work, you had foster care, and then you had probably in the 80s when you look back at Thatcherism, and you had neoliberalism, and you had the marketization of services, which
Yeah.
were services. Then you had, you know, you had social workers, and perhaps their partners might have been in the business somehow, realizing that they
There was
could
a
do
gap,
this better, and
setting up
then it grew
agency.
and it
Yeah,
grew and
yeah,
it grew
yeah,
and it
yeah.
became you know, now we have a huge privatization of
Mm.
children's social care. So what is fostering? Fostering is something caught up in a much bigger socio-political landscape
Yeah,
that
yeah.
most foster carers that are recruited, you know, at the bottom level have no idea about. And it's those
Absolutely.
things.
I mean, that's a huge thing, how disconnected it all is actually. There's nothing that's really joined up. And I think there is that sense that oh, foster carers don't need to know. I think there's that kind of sense of the diminishing of the role into Yeah, it's a fairly disposable. It has been up until now, despite the policies and the procedures and all the things that have caught up with fostering, rightly so because of safeguarding. The actual status of carers has rather remained that sort of old-fashioned woman in the shoe, taking, oh, head on one side, you're so good, I couldn't do that. We're the saints or sinners. It's a very disconnected, chaotic job, is it? Or a role, or
We don't know, do
we don't
we?
know. Is it a
We don't know what we
vocation?
are.
Is it, yeah, yeah.
As foster carers, I think we have probably one of the biggest identity crises going
Mm.
because, 1 minute we're told our work is essential, thank you so much. And by the way, if we don't like what you say, you are disposable. You can't have it both ways. We're either
No, we've
essential or
got the
we're not.
government telling us that in the TSDS, the training, support, and development standards, that they were brought in to play, over a decade ago, that you have to have completed by when your first year of fostering to demonstrate our professionalism and that we are professionals. But at the same time, in court cases, when people are talking about worker status and things, we're told that you can't be classed as workers because all you sit watching TV and having dinner. So they give us that identity crisis to a certain extent. It's like, which
Wow.
are
Did we
we? Which
really
are
say
we?
that?
Unfortunately, they really did say that, but
Oh
yeah,
my
I
word.
know it's
Wow.
really,
Wow.
really
That's just
difficult to
insulted me
swallow.
even more.
Very
That's
difficult to
just like,
swallow.
really? Okay.
Mm.
Wow. Wow. Didn't know that.
I,
That's
I thought I
shocking.
didn't know. I told you that I think it was repeated again at the most recent one.
Really? Oh my.
Opens a can
So,
of worms.
what is fostering? Sitting around not being paid
Mm.
with children. Okay, that's fine. Wow. Who are the foster carers? So, one of the reasons then that they're finding it so hard to recruit foster carers is perhaps attitudes like that.
Well, the identity crisis, I guess, in that,
Yeah, yeah,
this is one of my key passions is this changing the narrative.
yeah,
I I really hope Josh McAllister has come into as the new children's minister. Some of what he's saying really resonates and is really very, very positive. And I hope that we can, before he moves on to the next position as the seventh minister in 5 years,
yeah.
some of what he's saying makes so much sense and resonates with everything we've been saying. He wants a different
What?
demographic to come in. He wants to uh, he describes it. I think he described it at a Labour conference speech as chaotic. I think it was the word chaotic, but don't hold me to it. But it was that suggestion that foster care is a bit chaotic. But we, well, who are foster carers? Well, I've met thousands over the years, and I can assure you they're not all grannies in cardigans in chaotic mad houses with kids screaming and biscuits dribbling down the front. There's this rather
You then,
unsavory
haven't you?
narrative, even in the public, because this is the narrative that's been pushed so much, is that foster care is somehow another. It isn't something that you do.
Yeah,
It's what the other does. And it is very much a case of, if I talk to a fellow professional in my other profession and say, have you considered being foster carer? They'd
yeah.
be like, oh no, I don't. I mean, they're marvelous, aren't they? I mean, gosh, I think they're fantastic foster carers, and wow, don't they do it? But no, it's not for me.
Well,
And
I've
a lot
noticed,
of that is about narrative and having to
yeah,
walk into a room and say, I'm a foster carer. Always the people that would argue with my point here are those that aren't foster carers who will say, oh, rubbish, but they're very proud of being carers.
well, I can absolutely vouch if I go to a dinner party, which seems to be less so now I'm a foster carer, but
Mm.
or a party, or I go anywhere and people say, "What do you do?" Because that matters so much to people, doesn't it? If I say I'm an author and an artist, oh, that's so fascinating. That's interesting. What if I start the conversation with I'm a foster carer? They'll walk on to the nibble section of the buffet pretty swiftly.
Mm.
No one is interested because the
No.
moment you say you are a foster carer, they think of stinky nappies, bubbling pans on the hob, and people who how are we portrayed in TV as well. Really, really
Oh, the
interesting.
foster
It's sort
carers
of people
usually,
standing at the front door hugging
villains always
their
been in the foster
cardigans.
care system, haven't they? Or the
It's
broken one,
unbelievable.
the psychotic. That I feel sorry for the care leavers as well because crikey, they get a bad rap in the T in TV programs. But
Yeah, we
yeah,
do. Care leavers
we
do. It's
pretty
lazy thinking, and I think, hopefully the work we're doing, continue to do, and our fellows in the sector do, will change that because, there's a lot to fostering and there's a lot to what we do, which is why, when we think about who are foster carers, it could be anyone, and it's one of the
yes, yeah.
widest democratics I know of,
Well, that's what it could be anyone, but it isn't anyone.
but
And
it
there
isn't
tends to
anyone.
be,
Exactly.
yeah, because of the advertising, because of
Yeah,
the marketing, because of
yeah.
the, I think one of the latest ones was, putting sprinkles on cupcakes. Your every day is all the children need, and it was another one where you sort of
I would
just
love my everyday
grab
to
hold of your
be
head and think,
seeing
oh,
sprinkles
please,
on
no more.
cupcakes.
And, you know,
That's great.
until we start saying it, people say, oh, you can't. This is what interests me. They say, oh, you can't say how it really is. Nobody would do it. Well, perhaps that's false advertising then, that they feel that they won't tell them the truth until they start. And they wonder why everyone's in trouble. But I think that the truth is actually beautiful
Mm,
about fostering,
mm.
all of
It,
it, but
it's
not this false narrative.
no, no, it's not helping. Those, and it goes back to, I think in every book I write, in every post I put out there, is that the frustration for us as foster carers is that the narrative spoken about us, the education and training designed for us, everything about us is done by people who have never done it.
Yes.
And I feel so passionately that please do not speak for me or for the children unless you have worn our shoes,
Yeah.
unless
Yeah.
you understand, because it's not what you think it is.
No.
And because you get it wrong is why we're in the mess we're in. And which the fact that we are not even invited
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
being part of that conversation is
Mm,
fascinating.
mm.
I find it, we'll move on to a different part in a minute, but I think what I find really fascinating, I know that we've talked about this, is when you Google foster care and you get all these, fancy schmancy
Yeah.
websites with
Yeah.
laughing children
Yeah.
blowing
Yeah.
dandelions
Oh,
in.
it's a sea of sameness. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, what all the Getty images. If you look at, and all the award ceremonies, there's I think
Mm, mm,
award season, lots of people receiving
mm,
awards.
mm,
What you'll see is, them and us. You'll see the management. You'll see the people who run the fostering organizations. But where the hell are the foster carers? Where
mm.
are they? And you'll see people collecting awards for great this and great. But where are the foster carers that do
I
the
think
work?
that's a much deeper conversation in which, and again, complex, so complex in that where are the foster carers? They're silenced, a lot of them.
Yep.
They are afraid to speak out because of we know what a vulnerable position we're in.
Yeah.
86% of carers in our survey said that the fear of allegations impacts their everyday fostering in some way or another.
Wow.
So, and I want to tell the carers that are listening to this as well, we aren't going to skirt around the issues. We will come to those bigger issues that really affect them from day to day as well, because that, from my point of view, we are concentrating on the bigger picture, but to not do that for our carers would be to miss a huge, opportunity to say, you're heard. We
Yeah.
listen to your voice. I think the other problem is everything being designed by social work profession, including our support. They completely miss what support of a foster carer is. It's not a cup of tea and bingo. It's not, it's not an innocuous organization run by social workers with sort of phone lines. Again, it's very visceral, it's very front line, it's very deep, but it's also the age-old thing of us actually being included in team around the child and being able to acquire the services that the child needs, the services that we need. It's, who are the foster carers? They are the people that will need all those services, and they are also so diverse. Look at our executive team and our wider team. We have top flight pediatricians on there. We've got a veterinary surgeon. We have best-selling authors like yourself. We have charity founders, your Spark Sisterhood, Sarah Livingston from Replenish Culture. We have the most incredible team of professionals. And I think one of the themes I'd like through our podcast is that who are the foster carers, but more like, can we excite others to become foster carers? Can we say to them, actually, this is what it's about? There is great support available out there. We can support you. Who can we do enough on our podcast to excite a whole new demographic of people to foster? Possibly we could.
I think we've got our reach in other areas through the work I do with my books, and through we have the reach. I think until now, you and I and many of our fellow foster carers who meet up and discuss what we do haven't felt that we wanted to promote fostering because we didn't know quite what we were promoting. We can't guarantee support, we can't guarantee anything. But what I will say is that if we can do that, Sarah, through our podcast, if we can help recruit to this sector more foster carers, if we can help do that by offering support around, what is training, what is education. Education first, please. You need to know what you're doing before
education support, also same side of the.
We know collectively with all our fellow foster carers what's missing. We know what is needed, and we need more foster carers. There is no way we can deny that, and it would give me great pleasure to know that in our own little way that we can help recruit more foster carers. What are we recruiting them to? That's the bit we need to
This
iron.
is the reason that 70% of foster carers are saying we will not recommend fostering, because it's not just a question of who are what are we recruiting them to. It's a question of what are we recruiting them to, what it's become. Because I've seen a real decline in everything, in culture, in relationships, in any kind of humanness in the foster care sector. They've lost the humanity along the way somewhere. And I think without that humanity, how can we call it care? Because care isn't just about caring for the children. If you don't care about those who care for them, there will be no foster care. And it's vital.
Yeah, we have to care with compassion, and you have to care about your carers with utter compassion, because there's, they talk about empathy. And one of the things we are asked when we become foster carers is they want to judge our empathy, engage our empathy, which I think, well, don't most groomers have empathy? That's how they know how to groom. But what we are lacking is the compassion, and you can feel compassion, you can smell compassion. And I think a lot of the compassion is scared to come out these days because of the litigation culture, because of the insurance culture. And I think we're at a very critical stage in foster care where someone has to put their foot over the line and say, right, come with me, follow me, because we're going to rewrite this. We're going to say what is your insurance, your litigate, your fear of litigation, your fear of being perceived as not a good professional. I'm talking to the official professionals here, not the foster carers, because we're not really officially anything. Is that we come on.
I think there is there's a sort of move towards that. Again, going back to Josh McAllister, you know, he wants to put love and belonging at the center of it all. I mean, who can argue with that? But what I would argue with is the way one presumes that that will happen. And I think we cannot forget that in order to create the conditions for love and belonging, you have to find the people that want to educate themselves, are willing to work on, you know, trauma responsive, proper qualifications, people who are willing to learn more and professionally develop, but people are willing to start with a certain level of education, because you can't just start carers on a blooming first aid certificate. So we have to look at the bigger picture. You know, I know that I've heard of that last week. We
No
have
way.
to start. Yeah, we have to. The love and belonging is the end result.
Yeah.
Our mission here is to, how do we get there?
Yeah. So
How do we get there? We don't just go, oh, come in. We have belonging here. We have love. You know, and a lot of children will back that away anyway. They don't want to be with you. And
No.
we cannot prescribe it. We cannot say that's what you cannot say that's what we are going to do in care. You have to say, what conditions are we going to create so that children will feel they belong and they are loved?
Yes. Bravo.
That's my speech for the day.
No, I love
I've
it.
run out now. That's it. I'm all
That's
all
it. You're
speeched
tired. You're
out.
going to have a lie down. I know that yeah, I think until it all has to work together. You can't keep picking off one or the other. We have to work fluidly together. That's professions and everybody else.
Can we do that? Is it
I
possible?
struggle to see that ever happening
But you
because
know, interesting thing is that doesn't cost any money.
I know.
Throwing money at it isn't the only solution. I'm not saying you don't need more money. Of course, our sector needs more money, but it's almost as though we get to that point where all people do is say, oh, we can't, no, we're not got enough money. We're not got enough money. Changing a culture, changing a mindset, bringing humanity and compassion back into what we do. It's free.
Well, I worry when organizations and governmental organizations say we need more resources, we need more money. And I'm thinking, well, look, love, basically, what are you spending the last lot on?
Yeah.
The bit of me is going, well, we all have to live within our means. That's what we do. We have to do. So what are those means? And perhaps we need to I hate it when people say we need to, and I just heard myself say that, because we need to give you a solution, does it? I guess that we can't do this on our own. None of us can. And I have worked with and met so many social workers. Some I never want to see again in my life, and some I value as good friends now because they have seen what we see. I see social workers struggling with in ridiculous caseloads that seem to spend all their time writing up reports for court hearings. We're not cherishing the people that
and we
that
can
make
only
a
help
difference.
if they let us in.
Yeah,
This has been the big problem, hasn't it?
yeah,
We've
yeah.
taken a long time to get inside the tent. I'd say that we are pretty much inside the
You've
tent.
unzipped it, haven't you? You've unzipped the tent, haven't
We have
you?
unzipped the tent and we're in there, but we're not at the main table yet. Quite. But I
No.
think it's going to happen. But because we are sitting there persistently saying we can help. And I think at some point somebody has to say, it's got really bad. Is it worth a try?
Yeah, let's hope so, because these children are worth it. They're
Oh,
worth
and the
more.
outcomes are still, Louise, the
Because I
outcomes
know
are
that
still shocking.
you and I and our, the people around us that work with us, we don't do this alone. That we've all we have been threatened. We have had
Yes, I've
serious threats
personally
made
been
against our
threatened. Yeah.
physical and financial well-being. We have been ignored. We have been brutalized. We have been lied about. We have, you know, all we're doing is trying to look after children.
It's a
The
really, really
fact
bumpy journey.
that it has been so difficult
Mm,
actually hardens the wiring. We're
mm.
kind of like, well, if it's so difficult, it's got to be worth it. And if it's so difficult, why is it so difficult to do the right thing?
Every time I fall down, I get up stronger. And yet when
Me.
I fall down, I don't think I'm going to get up at all. I mean, you know that. You know that more than anybody and other dear friends that I I do the whole I'm giving it all up. I can't do it anymore. And it's usually if I've been threatened by sometimes by the IFAs who you're threatening a really big financial model by trying to put the children first. Sometimes I just get up and I think that's it. I'm down and out. But somehow a few hours later I'm back up and even more determined than before. But it has been a really, really difficult, bumpy journey, hasn't it? Really
I've never
difficult.
known anything like it, Sarah.
No, me
I
neither.
have I've moved my career, well, I say my career, I've been careering
Mm.
around for years in various roles. For many years, I'm a
And
very
me, yeah.
skilled
Mm.
worker. But this is not like nothing else I've ever known before, and it's made me quite sad on occasions that trying to look after children and do right by them is such hard work. And I was
Yeah. And that
so
resonates so much, I would say, for all those listening across the foster care workforce itself. It resonates with so, so many carers what we've suffered, well, not suffered, but what we've encountered on our whole journey of trying to reform and help and change foster care for the children. I think that actually in the microcosms around the country, many of those foster carers have that exact, would describe it in exactly the same way. There'll be many listening, usually not foster carers, saying, oh gosh, what an exaggeration, or and there'll be some foster carers who might even listen and go, oh, what's she talking about? But there'll be an enormous number listening, nodding their heads.
yeah, so to why we do this, it's not for the pay, it's not for
Oh,
the notoriety. Everyone I know that is still hanging on by their fingertips are doing
won't
this
give it up for the children.
for the
Mm,
children.
mm.
And
Foster
as
care is
someone
really, yeah.
who was in care, I didn't expect to come back into care this way. But, those children are worth it. It's got to be worth the fight.
Well,
And
look at all those foster carers out there that actually, and that's the one thing that annoys me when a carer says to me, I said to my social worker, blah, 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 and she said, well, you don't have to do it, but that's not what we want to hear. We want
no,
to hear, it's amazing that you do it, and we need to nurture and treasure you to keep on doing it. But we cannot keep hearing the same things from foster carers year on year on year without doing something about it. And I think this podcast is going to, we've said we want to open the door and leave it open now. We're
yeah,
going to bring some of the big picture stuff to not so much to, first of all, we want to be helpful partners to the whole sector, but we're going to bring this big picture so that we can unravel why it isn't working, what's stopping it, and what could the future really look like if it did work.
it's got to work.
Yeah,
It's got to
got
work.
some great guests coming.
And this is what I was going to, because you've been very busy in the
I
background.
have.
I've been wafting
Mm.
around with, book launches and things. You've been doing the work as usual.
Mm.
Um, and that is who's coming on our show? Who's coming on?
We've got people can look them up. We've got Dr. Mina Youngbear. We've
Because
got
she's very quiet and shy, isn't she?
very, very quiet and
Yeah,
retiring, shy and
yeah.
retiring. I hardly think we'll get a word out of her. She's incredible. She's an incredible force of nature that I am just honored to call my friend. And Joe Hanley, brilliant. I've followed him for many years on
She's
LinkedIn.
a social worker.
Social worker, works at
Yeah.
the Open University. Yeah, I'm really looking for. People can look him up and see what his sort of special areas are. And we've also got Nana Yabi Hagen, who another force of nature. He runs the Social Worker and the Mentor podcast, and he's manager in children's in fostering and children's services. Fantastic career. Also, just really reflective. I think he wants to talk about working conditions for social workers, which I think is going to be really interesting.
Well, that's
And I
really
think it might just slide off into working conditions for all the front line.
interesting.
So, yeah,
Amazing.
really looking forward to those.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Well, that's just a little taster of what's to come.
Yeah,
We're in it to help change. We're
yeah,
in it to help you, and to we're always interested in what you've got to say. That's our
yes,
listeners.
please. Anybody listening, and
And
all,
for
any feedback. It's really important. All the feedback's important to us, even the not
really is.
positive, including the positive. We're here to hear that feedback, and yeah, it's really important.
Great. Well, that's it. And we'll speak to you very, very soon. We look forward
Yeah,
to hearing from you. So thanks for listening to
see you
Foster
next
Care
time.
Uncovered. The truth from the front line. I'm Louise Allen, and
And
this is
Sarah Anderson saying goodbye.
bye bye.
Bye.